Welcome to another episode of Millennial Investing Explained. Here's today's question. Hearing your story reminded me very much of your fellow shark story and book, The Power of Broke. In the book, Daymond talks about how being broke and having nothing but hustling grit is far more of an advantage than a disadvantage. With nothing to lose, you really had everything to gain. So rather than using their current situation as an excuse, how can an entrepreneur today be resourceful and use their shortcomings as an advantage?
Oh, I love that. Well, number one, let me talk to maybe some of your younger listeners, because I get this question a lot when you're starting out, and sometimes you're doing work that feels like pure drudgery, and it's not what you want to be doing in your life. And I always think back to one of my early job experiences. I was working at McDonald's, and I was working in the playroom. And you picture all these little mushrooms like Mario Brothers, like scattered about. And my job was to scrape the gum off the bottom of the chairs. And interesting, you'll be amazed how fast kids can replace gum as fast as you can scrape it. And I remember thinking, like, what is the point of this? Like, as soon as I scrape the gum, somebody else, just goes ahead and puts it back on. I remember one time I slacked on the job, and I saw a woman was hosting a party for her kid, and gum got stuck to her dress, and I see this spangly spider of gum as she got up, and I'm like, maybe this job does have a role in the universe. And that's less the point. More the point is I would scrape the gum as much and as hard as humanly possible, and I made myself indispensable as the top gum scraper you could ever imagine. That ultimately led to a job of managing the party room, a few months later, because somewhere out there in the universe there is a manager who's noticing this 14-year-old kid going crazy scraping gum. So my number one piece of advice I have to people just starting out: trust the universe. Make yourself indispensable at whatever job you're doing, and somebody will recognize your brilliance and give you an opportunity to do the next thing. And by the way, if they don't, then trust yourself and quit and go for the next job. So in terms of entrepreneur, I know everyone told me that dropping out of high school would brand me as a loser forever back in the day. And something inside me told me, actually, it's not really the truth. If I can demonstrate my capacity to overcome adversity and ultimately go to law school at night, which I did for 4 years, and college for 7 years, was on law review at Fordham, that what would be a demerit or a tick against me would actually turn into an asset because it demonstrated my mettle, right? So I would say to any entrepreneur who comes from a background of adversity that as long as there's a juxtaposition of before and after, you started here and ended up there, frankly, it's an asset. Sometimes I feel bad because society now values people who had adversity. It's cool to be a dropout, right? But like, I don't want the pendulum to swing so far that somebody who had a fine life and maybe didn't have adversity, they shouldn't be judged either. So I say to entrepreneurs, wherever you started out is an asset so long as there's a compelling enough juxtaposition for where you are, because it proves your mettle.
That's all for this episode of Millennial Investing Explained. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even more free content.